Do I even have to make this video? Do I have to write this script? Do I have to watch the movie? At this point, I am so ready for Apocalypse War, and I'm sure that you're ready for Apocalypse War, that this video is either a chore to get through, or it's a victory lap. In other words, y'all,
we're in the endgame now.
We have yet another Elseworlds movie. This time it asked the question of, what if Superman didn't land in Kansas, but in Soviet-era Russia? Superman is a Soviet hero and a symbol of hope and of the communist ideal, who fights for the working class and champions the downtrodden. Viewing the American democratic system as counter to all of his beliefs, Superman nevertheless saves Metropolis from a failing Soviet satellite, and is subsequently asked for an interview by one Lois Lane. During it, she gives Superman evidence and locations for Stalin's gulags, which he has not been made aware of. Superman goes there, is appalled by the depravity of it all, and with the encouragement of a childhood friend who dies in his arms, he frees those who are imprisoned, murders Stalin, and becomes the new leader of the Soviet Union. During his tenure, Superman faces many challenges and meets many people. He gains an ally in Diana of Themyscira and an enemy in Batman. He also fights off Superior Man, who is a genetically engineered clone of him. He also defeats an invading Brainiac, reprograms him, and uses his advanced intelligence to control those who seek to disrupt his communist utopia, a tactic which Diana finds appalling. Batman eventually kidnaps Diana, somehow, and uses her to lure Superman into a trap of red solar rays. In the end, however, Diana sacrifices much of her power to save him, though renounces their partnership due to that sacrifice, Superman promising to turn Batman into a mindless slave, and Batman committing suicide in lieu of that. Later, the US military, along with one President Lex Luthor, who made Superior Superman and is married to Lois Lane, reverse engineers the power of a Green Lantern ring and forms a unit to combat Superman. Despite the pleading of Diana, both sides fight to the bitter end, and though Superman has been reluctant to truly go to war with America for fear of becoming the dictator Stalin was, he eventually reasons that there was no other way. However, when he gets there, it's Lois Lane that meets him, not an army, and she helps him realize the error of his ways and of the dark path he's taken in his rule. Superman concludes that it should ultimately be up to humanity to decide its fate, not him. She gives him Stalingrad, which was shrunken down by Brainiac earlier, and it's revealed that the AI was fully operational all along. It destroys Stalingrad, and it's only through the combined efforts of Superman and Luthor that it's defeated, though Superman seemingly sacrificed himself to do so. With the US set to win the Cold War, and with Superman no longer opposing him, Luthor steps down as president, which makes Lois happy. She also sees that Superman survived, and his smile indicates that he approves of the direction that the world is heading. Roll credits. This movie is very awkward for me to talk about because I kind of have to tiptoe around very overt politics if I don't want to make a whole bunch of enemies. I'll try not to mention it too much though, and as a warning, any comments pertaining to politics will be removed without exception. That's not what this channel is about. With that said, my biggest problem with the film is that it didn't go all out for one side or the other. In the end, capitalism and the American way are shown to be the best path forward, but 75% of the movie sees the Americans constantly painted in a negative, egotistical, and power-hungry light, which confuses things to the point where I don't know what this movie's politics even are. What's strange to me is that this movie's premise isn't necessarily about Soviet Superman. It's, what if Superman took over the world? He usurps control of Soviet Russia from Stalin, and the majority of the runtime after that is about him building and maintaining his empire. It would have been interesting if they went all out and had him storm the American shores at the end. At his core, Superman is the same character he always was, save for minor tweaks. He seems a bit more willing to kill, and a point is made about his questionable tactics in controlling his citizenry.
After all I've achieved.
But how have you achieved it?
Better than the gulags, isn't it? Better than extermination. A day will come when it won't be necessary, Diana, but till then...
But by and large, he fights for the same things that the canon Superman does. He fights for the liberation and prosperity of the common man and wants to show them a better future. The difference now is that he has the political authority to impose those views onto everyone, rather than just being another hero in a sea of hundreds. In this scenario, his politics don't matter, not least because the movie doesn't define what it means by capitalism, the West, peace, order, and other such words, which mean so many things to so many different people. He could have really had any ideology. He could have been a king of England, or Genghis Khan, or any other ruler of an empire, and the structure of the movie would largely have been the same. You would just need to change the scenes where they talk about the politics, which they again never define, and where they don't debate at all and just spout platitudes about it all day. My second second biggest issue is with the villain. This is the kind of movie that doesn't really need an overarching villain. It was, in many ways, an arms race between Superman and Lex Luthor, as the latter continually developed new ways to combat him and his empire. The conflict between these two heroes of their own story would have been fine as a dramatic arc, but instead we get Brainiac. His introductory scene happens in montage a little over half an hour into the movie, and from there he's completely forgotten about until the final battle. If they wanted Brainiac to be the main villain, a more proper introduction could have been something like he invades Soviet Russia, and Superman's first appearance to the Soviet people could have been that battle, at which point the story would start from that initial scene at the dam where Superman is nervous about talking to the press. Instead, the battle happens in montage after he has already taken power, and all of the developments with his technology happen in quick cutaways immediately after, through a tour in the Superman Museum or something. My third problem is Batman. There are so many things wrong with his inclusion. Number one, why is he here? We already had an anti-Superman in Lex Luthor. We did not need a second one. Second, why is he dressed like a bat other than for iconography? No explanation. Third, why is so much time devoted to him and his one-man war with Superman when in the end he was so superfluous? Like All-Star Superman, there is no overarching plot in this film, save for the shallow ideological battle between capitalism and communism. Events happen seemingly out of nowhere, with no connection between them and no proper introduction to anything or anyone, save for the 3 or 4 main characters. I think that this movie fares better than that one because Superman actually goes through a cohesive character arc, but Batman's inclusion ties into this problem and makes it 10 times worse. Him being here opens up a mess of continuity puzzles and logical inconsistencies, some of which I've already mentioned, but the worst one is something I've yet to talk about. Batman eventually just kidnaps Diana. No mention is made of how or under what circumstances. She can fly, can catch Superman's punch even when she's weakened later, and at least in the comics she has an army of Amazons at her back at several points. But there she is, bound by her own lasso and told to shut the hell up. I mean, look, I'm as kinky as the next guy, but seriously? In what universe would this happen? At least in Crisis on Two Earths, Superwoman was established as liking to play with her victims, which led to cockiness and letting Batman get the drop on her. Here, Diana would probably just run her fist through his chest the second she spotted him, and we aren't given any explanation for her capture? Get the f*** out of here, dude. However, those are my only 3 major complaints. True, the animation and direction were surprisingly subpar, but the main meat of the movie wasn't the action, it was the ideology and, more importantly to me, Superman's character, which was very good. His arc is just really basic, solid storytelling. We have the death of a childhood friend as a believable push to pursue the ideals he already believed in, and stopping invaders from both America and outer space is a good enough reason for him to dislike outsiders and dissidents. That said, at the beginning, he's still kind and compassionate. He doesn't hesitate to save Metropolis from the malfunctioning satellite, and tells the American people that he has no issue with them, but with their government. His ultimate conclusion that he was naive all along is supported by him immediately doing what Stalin did when he takes power: kill a bunch of people for the sake of communism and to grow and protect his empire. For Stalin, it was the gulags. For Superman, it was destroying the South Korean military and their US allies. He also failed to realize how horrific it was to have Brainiac mind control dissenting civilians, merely saying that it was a temporary fix and a necessary evil, just as Stalin had referred to the gulags earlier in the movie. We have several good scenes of internal struggle and moral debate, which culminates in him realizing the error of his ways and preparing to leave and make amends, which takes us to the final battle and his sacrifice. I don't have much to say on it since it was a pretty cut and dry arc, but I did think that it was very well done. Speaking of things that are well done, the music and sound direction in general are great across the board. The punches feel much weightier than they should with the lackluster direction, which helps sell the otherwise mediocre action scenes.
Had your chance.
And there are just some nice, if predictable, moments of profound silence or purposeful scoring, such as when Brainiac blows up.
Use your power to...
and when Superior Superman takes off to fight Superman. And finally, I like how the characters age. This is a film that takes place over the course of over 20 years, so seeing Lois Lane and Luthor change appearance as the years pass was nice. It was also nice to see the subtle maturation of their characters. Both of the above mentioned characters are significantly more lively and egocentric in the early portions of the movie compared to the end. It wasn't focused on or explicitly pointed out, but it was noticeable to me, and, that's what mattered. Overall, Superman Red Son was a fun movie. While the middle portion could have been tightened up a bit, the villains shouldn't have been there, and the ideological conflict was shallow, it's saved by a solid score, a good arc for its main character, good designs, and a good first and last third. As the final standalone in this video series, I'm glad that it was at least passable.